welcome to Paper Traders, a show where two average Joes try to beat the market. I am Eric, and I'm here with Danny Mac, and we are here to basically give you whatever information we have available to try to help you make some money in this crazy time. Currently, I'd like to let you know that we're streaming on all your favorite platforms, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, and pretty much a billion others that I'm not going to go through. Be sure to like, subscribe, comment. Remember that we are taking questions live, so I can see anything anybody says right here in front of me, so be sure to bring that up. And I also want to remind you that we are in our live block now, Monday through Thursdays at this time. And if we're not on, you can catch Ben Rains with the free lunch show, which is pretty interesting because he goes through local market news and then goes and hits up a top number one stock pick and goes through the details why he thinks it's so good. So with that, I'm going to hand it off to Danny today.
Oh, you're just going to throw it on over. Okay. But, you know, there is a lot going on in the news. Just over the past week or so, everybody kind of is pretty much aware of what's going on with the trade war. We hit a lot of that on Monday. It doesn't look very good lately.
Worse.
It does. It just seems like it's a never-ending cycle. There's really no end in sight right now.
It's looking like your prediction is right, Danny. It's looking like China's going to dig its heels in and basically wait until the next presidential cycle to come up with a plan.
Yeah, I mean, they look like they're willing to take the hit. I mean, their currencies are not doing very well. Their economy is
but it's been slowing for a while, so I mean, this
right,
is not a
but
surprise to many people.
This definitely doesn't help the trade war tensions and everything as we see. I guess we'll just jump right into it. The Treasury yield inversion has kind of occurred, and which everybody kind of saw yesterday. The market had pretty big spill off because of it. What happened is that the 10-year Treasury actually has fallen below the 2-year note. So they call that an inversion. What happened is it went down. The 10-year Treasury mark went down to 1.476 as a yield, while the 2-year sits at a 1.526.
Which is a sign of slower times to come.
Yeah, so one big thing is because of the trade war, a lot of people are looking for other places to put their money in instead of equities and stocks and stuff. So
gold?
Yeah, they start moving around to bonds and gold, and they're moving their money out. So people start to see this happening, and it's causing the bond yields to go down. It's pretty normal for this to happen. It's pretty much, when this happens,
it just is what it is. I mean, there's really no fighting it. We just got to let the market do what it's got to do. And I mean, if it's going to come down, I think a lot of people would say that it's been time for a correction for a bit.
Yeah, and I mean, in every slowdown that we've had in the global economy, this has happened. The inversions happen, and it's just something we have to deal with. So, I mean, you're just seeing kind of, I think, the stock market reacting to this. But
it's not a guarantee either. I mean, this is a potential sign. So I mean, it's not
right.
like the planets have aligned and all of a sudden now we're going to go down.
Right. I mean,
it's a sign that we have to pick things up in the economy a bit and maybe stimulate in other areas.
I totally agree. It's kind of like what John Blank said a while back when we had him on. There are a lot of different factors that are going to show themselves in the next coming months and say, hey, we're going to have, some slowdown and maybe that big R word of recession, but
don't say it.
Yeah. Some people don't, they don't know what the big R word is. So we're going to throw it out there.
You're not supposed to say it though. It's taboo. You're not supposed to say it, Danny.
Yeah. Well, it might be a little jinx. So we'll knock on wood here. But yeah, I mean, today we're doing better. We're making a little bit of ground and headway towards the green today. Let's take a quick look and see where the stock market is currently sitting. I believe it's just slightly in the green, not too much, but anything is good. So yeah, about 0.4 to 0.8% across the board on the indexes.
Looks like everything's up. I mean, if you show what I got right here on the Zacks home screen, I mean, the Dow, the Nasdaq, and the S&P are all in the green. So I mean, it's not saying a lot when we lost a little bit the other day, but I mean, in general, I mean, anything green is good. So
right.
I mean, yeah, I mean, you look at this, like the Dow. I mean, we lost a little, but we're coming back up, I promise.
Yeah, no, we'll be fine again. It's just you're seeing the volatility. Like I said earlier, people are just kind of, I think, reacting to what's happening. But I mean, stocks are still going up today. They're still making ground.
You look at the
so.
summary here. I mean, the volume here is showing, from 10 a.m. it was down, but we are probably double. I mean, I can't really get a real number there, but I'd say it's almost double from where it was yesterday, at least.
Yeah. I mean, going from there, we can kind of touch on a few of the earnings that came out just because I guess some of them were impacted by the actual trade war. We had Brown and Foreman, which is the company that does a lot of the distribution for Jack Daniels and Korbel Sparkling wines. So they came out and gave us a Zacks consensus topped by 2 cents.
Wow, I'm actually impressed.
To 39 cents per share. Sales of 766 million. That actually was down 0.08%. Or I'm sorry, 0.8% from the estimates. This unfortunately marks the 4th straight quarter that this has come short on expectations, but Brown and Foreman, they came out and said, look, we have some drag on sales right now. It's because of tariffs being slapped on our goods.
But I think that might be part of it.
Yeah, I mean,
okay, so not to get too much into my knowledge of whiskey, but what's it called? Proper 12. Conor McGregor's whiskey is signing some deals and making some moves in the world.
That's some good stuff, too.
I will be honest with you. Yeah, for the price point in comparison to Jack Daniels and Jameson, which would probably be the immediate competitor, I would say it is hand over fist better than either of the two for the price.
I don't drink a lot of whiskey, but I know Jack Daniels is not something I'm going to be ordering at the bar anytime soon.
Yeah, I don't even like it anymore. Maybe when I was younger it was something, but yeah.
Yeah, I tend to go towards micro kind of stuff that people probably don't know about.
Like Journeyman.
Journeyman's a great one. That's actually here in Michigan.
It's in Michigan or is it in Indiana? I know it's close.
Yeah, it's in Michigan. I actually, my parents have a place out towards there. And once in a while, we'll visit there, and it's a fantastic spot.
Yeah, I've been out there a few times. Their gin is really good.
Yeah, so I mean, maybe those types of places.
But back to let's get back to whiskey and wine before we get too off topic. Yeah, no, I think that might actually be putting a dent in there. That might actually be the competition that's showing up in their earnings.
Yeah, I mean, the stock is up 24% year to date. So it's outpacing the S&P 500 by a lot. I think the S&P 500 is down about 5-6%.
Proving that vices still sell.
Yeah, I mean, people still want to drink. I mean, people.
Maybe we'll visit that next week. We had talked about doing a show talking about the Vice ETF. We'll get Nina in here and have her talk vices with us.
It's one of those things people tend to not cut out of their budget, if that makes sense. They might not go out to eat as much and spend on the alcohol. But they're still going to buy
that whiskey.
Yeah, they're still going to buy their bottles of whatever they like, and maybe some beer here or whatever they drink, and they'll sit at home and kind of compensate for not going out. So I think those types of things will wear on and show well because I believe they came out here. Let me just take a look. No, okay, never mind. I was going to say something, and now I'm going to backtrack on that. But kind of moving forward. To show you kind of that there's other stocks doing well as Tiffany and Company came out and posted a 7-cent beat this morning. That was down from their $1.17 per share. Let's see. They company reported double-digit growth in China, so that's a pretty big one.
That's actually not that surprising at all.
Really?
Honestly, yeah, because I have read before, and I think Tracy's touched on it, that most luxury brands kill in China.
Yeah.
Like Chinese people seem to go and just eat up any sort of luxury brand that's available.
That is true.
So that being the case, I mean, I know that auto sales there are insane. Like Ferrari sold like a ridiculous amount of cars in China.
I didn't know that.
So, I mean, it's not really all that surprising to me that they are showing double-digit growth in China. I think that's only short of their economy slowing down. I think that that's a pretty telling sign that pretty much luxury is going to do pretty well overseas.
I mean, they didn't. The quarter wasn't too good, but the shares are up. It looks like they missed revenues by 1.78% to 1.05 billion, which is down from 1.08 billion a year ago. Yeah, not so
tough
much.
Life,
but
right?
Again, this isn't the most important quarter for Tiffany. It's kind of the same thing for all retail stocks. We're going to be looking ahead towards the holiday season coming up here at the end of the year. So Q4 tends to be a very heavy.
Oh, yeah, retail's going to show.
Yeah, so just something to kind of look out for. they're definitely showing that, hey, we're here to fight through this volatile market. And
Well, and Trump put off the what is it, the tariff raise. You know, how much we're going to be charging them in tariffs essentially until after the holiday season. So it's kind of like he was like, okay, well, we'll let them get that money in, and then we're going to try to put the screws on.
yeah, well, we'll see, because he came out on Monday and was basically backtracking from what he said on Friday. He was calling for companies to literally find alternatives to doing business with any other person than China.
My guess
just,
is
like,
his
cut
phone
cords.
is ringing off the hook with every CEO in America asking to come to some sort of settlement at this point.
I mean, people were not happy in the business community with him asking them to cut ties with China. I mean, that's a huge move. You can't just all of a sudden uproot yourself.
we're in a global economy now. I mean, you have to be competitive, and to try to separate yourself from one of the largest economies in the world, and that continues to grow,
Right.
you're basically pigeonholing yourself. So I don't know what he's thinking. I could understand trying to get some sort of deals when it comes to, basically copyright and trademarking and, basically whatever you can, think up essentially. I can get that. Like, what is the term I'm looking for here, Danny? Help me.
I don't know, man.
It's intelligent property or something. I can't remember.
Intellectual
property.
Sorry.
Thank
Yeah,
you
yeah.
very much. Yeah.
You even evaded me.
All right. So yeah, go in and strike a deal for that. I can understand where we have some sort of control over what's being produced, or at least being compensated for what's being copied, essentially. But otherwise, I mean, we kind of got to figure this out, because you just can't exist in the world anymore without having some sort of tie to China.
Yeah, very true. I mean, just to kind of tie off things here in the earnings, they reaffirmed their full year guidance. So I mean, again, it's a little bit of a down quarter for them, but again, we're going to look forward to the holiday season, and their full year guidance is still looking pretty good. Shares were up, so I mean, people were pretty happy about the report. Again, the earnings are pretty slow right now. It's obviously come to an end here. Too many companies are really reporting. But other than that, we have a pretty big news story that came out yesterday for Johnson.
Real quick,
and
before we get
Johnson.
into that, just a reminder to people
Yeah.
that we are streaming live, so we can see your questions.
Yeah, people.
Fua Boss is back, and he says, good morning, and thanks again for the tips. Fua Boss, thank you for watching. Continue to watch, and please give us any sort of idea of what you guys want. We have, in terms of people, resources here available that we talk to. So if there's somebody you want us to bring on, please let us know so we can have them address and talk about whatever you want to know. The whole idea here being is we're trying to teach you guys and learn ourselves. So
Yeah.
if something's confusing or something in the marketing is happening that you don't really necessarily know how to navigate, let us know. We'll get Kevin Matris on. We'll get Tracy on. We'll get Kevin on. I mean, there's 10 names I could pull out of a hat right now to get somebody to come talk to us.
Right, because for today, for example, it's kind of a mishmash of a bunch of different things going on. There's a little earnings here. There's a little trade war things. We got the inversion of the yield happening. There's just a lot of different things going on, and then sometimes we're sitting here talking about one big story that's completely taken over the market. So there's always something happening, and I'm sure that there's always a question that can be thrown out there.
Of course.
Because I know I always have questions, and there's not always a perfect answer, but coming collectively
there's
together.
No such thing as a stupid question, only stupid answers.
Right.
So hopefully we can give you an answer that satisfies whatever need you may have. So again, please send us a message. We'll get somebody on here to answer it. I promise you.
Ooh, promises.
That's a promise. I keep my promises.
Yep. And then kind of rounding out the, I guess, news in the market here. We had Johnson & Johnson, as I mentioned. They came out here with a big fine. They got hit from Oklahoma judge.
2 bombs today. We're going to even go with a little bit of this.
Woo woo. Oh, man. We're getting sad. So they got hit with a $572 million fine. This is due to the opioid kind of epidemic that is happening across the country.
Or the world.
The world, but you know what? We're focusing on our home front here. Obviously, they have probably different laws and things that are going on in their countries. So I can't personally speak on what's going on, but for here in America, it's a pretty big epidemic. Oklahoma was actually seeking $17 billion. So for this, 572 is a pretty big fall short of that, which investors were actually pretty psyched about.
Which is so sad.
Yeah.
Right? Like, that is, like, so disappointingly humanitarianly
Yeah.
sad that the investors like, yay, we didn't have to pay as much as we thought we had to.
It's like, unfortunately, it is a business, and I
I
think
know,
investors only want to really care if it's going to affect them in the long run. I think if they were paying billions of dollars, it would have been a little bit more of a, I guess, a heyday on their stock. But
I feel like they should just pay it up now. Not like the whole amount, but like, here's $1 billion.
Well, they're actually going to be appealing these charges.
Of course.
So the judge came out and was pretty harsh. He came out and was basically saying for a family-friendly company that like was made for baby soap
care,
yeah, like the way we associate it is just very different. So
well, this is the second one they're gonna have to appeal because they also had that other lawsuit recently having to do with their talcum powder.
Oh, I don't know about that one.
Let me check that out real quick while you catch them up on what happened. But
yeah, so the judge came out and was basically, quote, false, misleading, and dangerous marketing campaigns that have caused exponentially increasing rates of addiction, overdose, and deaths. So, I mean, he's not happy with the way Johnson & Johnson's doing business. The lawyer for Johnson & Johnson pretty much came out and was like, look, we have a lot of strong grounds for appeal, and we intend to pursue these. So they're not going to take this sitting down. Apparently, they feel like they're in the right here, and that they're not doing anything wrong. This $572 million that the judge granted is supposed to be for a year's worth of like services to help combat and get people the help and treatment that they need in Oklahoma. Now that's not to forget that there was other lawsuits, like you said.
No, I actually just pulled it up if you want to show my screen here.
Well, really quickly,
we just got to touch on it because this has got to affect their earnings too.
Yeah,
so
there was other lawsuits that happened for Purdue Pharma and Teva Pharmaceuticals. They each respectively paid $270 million and then $85 million for Teva. So it's reaching about $1 billion right now in total. That's going to go towards services and stuff. So this isn't the end. There are still 2,000 cases across the country open, and I believe Ohio is kind of the next up-and-coming one that people are going to be keeping an eye on. So
yeah, this is from August 2nd. This is like the most recent article I could quickly find from a reasonable news outlet.
You're going to have to walk us through it. Your laptop's not showing, so just run us through it real quick.
So essentially, it's from CNBC and it's from August 2nd. It says Johnson & Johnson says jury ruled in favor in lawsuit alleging baby powder caused mesothelioma. So like,
whoa,
basically they're showing that there are ties to their Johnson & Johnson baby powder that cause cancer, and so this has got to be another huge one for them. Like I can't go into all the details, and I'm sure it's a lot more complicated than I could go through in a couple seconds.
Oh yeah, it's the same with all these opioid trials.
I mean,
that
so being the case, like they're in court a lot lately right now.
Yeah, and you know what?
And nobody likes killing babies. Let's be honest. Nobody likes killing babies.
That's terrible PR. I mean, let's just face the facts there. But you know what? I believe these companies are going to fight right through it. They have a lot of money in their bank accounts, and they have these things set up where they are ready for lawsuits like this, I believe.
Oh, of course. I bet you that the guys that they have on retainer probably get paid a handsome sum just to wait around for something like this.
So unfortunately, it might be one of those things that it is a terrible, terrible thing, but you know what? It's might be forgotten over the next couple years, at least in the eyes of the investor. Now, for the people in the public, obviously, this is going to be an epidemic that will, chase them forever. So, kind of ending on that, just be aware that these cases are going to probably be popping up again. I said Ohio, and I was correct. It looks like in October there is a case coming up. So just be aware of that, and I think we're going to kind of move on and take a look at our portfolios.
It's time to get into the battleground.
All right, let's do it.
All right, guys, so it's time to hit the battleground. I'll be honest with you. I haven't actually brought anything to the battleground today because, to me, the market is just a little too volatile for somebody like me being a amateur to get into and make some sort of smart move.
Yeah. I mean, I'm a little bit in the same boat. I'm still keeping my eye on the stock I mentioned over the past week, which is Callaway, ELY. It is one that is getting hit because it is a lower market cap. It does have a little bit more volatility involved with it. We're looking for maybe the market to just chill out for a little
I mean,
and maybe take a
everything's in
break
the
from it.
green. Everything from our portfolio.
Oh,
Replay. What's it called? Everything in our portfolio that we put into the watch list, at least, is like it's green. I mean, we're not looking like we've made poor choices here. I mean, we've gotten into stuff that's showing that there's some sort of gain to be made. I mean, I'm gonna go to myself real quick because didn't get a chance to check before I walked in. But I mean,
yeah,
I'm up
I'm
4% on the day. I mean, I'm not doing bad. My everything's looking green in here. I can't really complain. You know, yeah, it's a tough market for somebody like me, being as amateur as I am, to figure out what to do here. And I know that there are ways to make moves. Like, I'm sure Dave Bartosiak and, Brian Bolin are probably killing it right now. They're probably pulling shorts on this and, pulling options, which is something we're going to get into down the line here. We'll probably bring Kevin Matrus back for that.
Yeah, I mean, I was just taking a look at your portfolio, and I remember on Monday, it was down like 4 or 5%. Today, it's down around 2-3%. So I mean, with that down day, even yesterday, we're not getting hit, so it's nothing to cause crazy
I'm
concern.
sure it has to do with the gold that I got in there. That's the only thing I can think that was really propping it up.
Well, even mine here, we'll go to my portfolio. It's in the same kind of boat. We're down 8%. We were down 8% from the get-go on Monday. So, I mean, we're not seeing too much change. Again, we hold some of a more stable stock, a utility, AT&T. So that's always a decent thing to have. I mean, I think me and you have a little bit of some safe plays. You have gold.
Oh, yeah.
I have some utilities and dividends to play off of. So I mean, we're doing good. We're in good shape, especially with the volatility kind of going on. I'm not worried at all. So I mean, in hindsight, I'm pretty happy with where we're sitting here.
Well, I mean, a lot of people, like I was just saying, a lot of people say this is a buying opportunity. I mean, not maybe necessarily right now because we're up, but these couple down days, if there's something that you've been watching that you're like, man, I should grab that.
Well, that's exactly what I'm doing with Callaway. There's a few down days that it's had. Today might be a day to kind of
are you
look
gonna
to.
add it then?
No, you know what? I'm
yet.
I'm kind of being a little bit more of the cautious player and seeing what this kind of week brings. It's a little bit of a lower volume in the stock market, so you could see some heavier swings.
Because everybody's doing the same thing we are. Everybody's hedging their bet and going, you know what? Let me wait until this calms down.
Nobody can look at nobody's going to look at the bottom of any.
You can't call the bottom.
Yeah, and even if it's a slight downturn, it's hard to call. Or maybe you should just dollar cost average. Maybe you get out. I don't know. There's a lot of different options, but here with the paper traders here, we're pretty confident that we'll be okay, and we're going to stick with our stocks that we got. But just remember, if you guys have any stocks that you're interested in putting in your portfolio and want to kind of just run through it with us, we'd be more than happy to
give you our little opinion.
Yeah, you might even give us an idea of what stocks to look at, because again, there's so many of them. Sometimes they're just going to go right over your head, and you missed a good opportunity.
And even further, if we don't happen to have it, again, we'll throw it to one of the other editors that we have here. We can get their opinion. We'll bring it to the show.
Exactly. So I guess with that said, it was kind of a mishmash of topics today. I know it was kind of our first time we've done that, but there's just many different things going on.
Yeah, there's just so much happening. And with that happening, I feel like us talking about it maybe helps other people also kind of digest what's going on.
Yeah, fortunately, it wasn't good news. I mean, a lot of this was pretty much all bad news, from the trade war, opioids. You have the 10-year bond inversion.
Things will get better.
It's a lot of doom and gloom, but apparently the stock market's wading through it. So hey, that should be a good sign, I would say, for investors. So
I'm not worried. I got a feeling that things are going to work out here fairly quickly. I mean, with what's happening with the trade war and everything. We got to sort it out eventually, and I mean, you can't just disappear. So eventually, find some common ground.
We'll see.
All right, guys. Well, with that, I think we should call it a day. We will be off actually on.
Oh shoot, that's right.
Yeah, we're off on Monday. So make sure you guys, don't come tuning in, because just like most of the people here in the United States, we are going to be out of the office.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think a lot of people are gonna be kind of just hanging out by the pool or, chilling. I don't know what you're going to do on your Labor Day. I'm going to go.
Tell us what you did on Wednesday.
Yeah.
On Wednesday, let us know, because we'll give you a little rundown of what we did too. But yeah, send us a message on Wednesday and tell us what you did over your Labor Day weekend. With that, be sure to like, subscribe, and comment. Send this to your friends. Tell them, hey, we got this show where we can basically talk to these guys directly and get any information we want in terms of stock trading. So
yeah. Creating a community for people just to kind of, bounce some ideas off of each other. So
exactly. Don't forget, we're in the block. So tomorrow you'll have Ben Rains here with you, and he will go over a stock and he'll go over the local news. And also, while you're at it, check out Zacks Ultimate. It's our all-encompassing service that has all the little small details that you need to beat the market. And don't quote me on this, but I've heard this a billion times. We'll just round up, but we beat the market 26% of the time.
Yep, there you go.
That being the case, you definitely want a piece of that. So with that, guys, you guys have a good holiday, and we will see you on Wednesday.
Peace.